Hello, friends. It's Phil, and today I'm delighted to share that part 3, episode 3, release 3 of Notes from the Shed has just been scheduled. Now, if you don't know what Notes from the Shed is, then let me tell you. About, I'd say about 19 years ago, this is going to be a long podcast, so sit tight. Or maybe it won't be that long, but we're going to go back 19 years. I'm going to try and give you the context of this email that I send out once a month on behalf of All Gardening, me, the people that support All Gardening, let's say. This email goes out. And it only goes out once a month. I'll say that again. Now, 19 years ago, there's a guy called David Hyatt. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But there's a thing about David's name, his surname, that no one gets it right, I guess, except for David. But David set up a business around about the same time that I started All Gardening. His business was called Howie's, and it was a surfer, skater, BMX brand kind of thing. But the thing about Howie's is it was bigger than just selling that stuff. Now, he started just before social media and e-commerce really became the channels of building a business. And he used to produce a book, a summary of the year. And inside the book were stories, vignettes about life, adventures, stuff that would be captivating and interesting and articulating a lifestyle, the Howie's lifestyle. And alongside that, when the internet came on and the e-commerce came on, he was very, very quick to build an e-commerce website. But the one thing I remember really distinctively is the catalogue carried on for some years after the website was built, because the catalogue was more than just a catalogue. It was a storybook. Sadly, I collected them for absolutely years. Don't know where they are, but I wish I still had them. But alongside that, when he built the website, he had a really curious discipline that I've kind of adopted, a very simple discipline. And the discipline was he'd only send one email a month. Just one email a month. And inside that email, it was more about story and interest and dialogue and things that mattered to him and the people that worked for Howie's and the people that bought stuff from Howie's. It was a really deep dive into the thinking of David and, let's say, the brand, I think. As a little footnote, actually, David was a copywriter, I believe, for Saatchi & Saatchi for some many years, which gives you a little sort of a bit of an insight into how he thinks, maybe, or he's certainly an incredibly thinking writer. So I thought this year, with the whole thrust that I have of doing a daily podcast and doing a daily blog, which is short, they're kind of reminiscent ideas from what I remember how he's doing 19 years ago. It's almost slowly building layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of story, relationship, friendship, information, guidance, insights, just layers upon layers upon layers. So, this podcast, for example, it's not really selling anything, is it? Really. But what I'm trying to do through it is I'm trying to tell a story of the life and brand and story and influence and interests of all gardening. And in doing so, I gradually feel that I'm gravitating an audience around me. But it's an audience of interested people. It's an audience of influential people. It's an audience of informed people. It's easy to basically, for me to just tell you about how to renovate a lawn, or how to cut a lawn, or how to fix a lawnmower, or how to garden, or how to plant a tree. It's very functional. But actually, telling stories bit by bit by bit by bit creates intrigue, adventure, allure, discovery. And let's say episode 202 is creating a massive footprint of, let's say, brand ideology around me or gardening, and hopefully the people that kind of we work for and work for all gardening given time. So look, Notes from the Shed Part 3. As of today, Notes from the Shed is it's basically a list of people that do one thing. When they come to the All Gardening website, they find the newsletter. The newsletter basically says, we will send you a little bit of information, not too much, not too little, only once a month. And the thing about it is once a month means you have to wait. And actually, the way I build the content, the stories, the insights, the information for Notes from the Shed, it takes kind of like iterations of editing over those 4 weeks, in order that the final edit is kind of as relevant as it can be based on the past 30 days or the past 28 days or the past 31 days. So you may not have come across Notes from the Shed because I'm not really on the website, and that's the only place you can find it. The access to sign up to Notes from the Shed is, it's only growing an audience of people that know about it. And the only people that will know about Notes from the Shed are the people that sign up to the newsletter. There is no promotion. It's not being forced on you. There's no pop-up to say, hey, join my newsletter and you get 10% off something. It's like, no. It's like, if you're interested in what All Gardening is doing and you want to learn more, and maybe you're not in the UK, maybe you're somewhere else in the world and you think, once a month I'd like to see what Phil's thinking. I'd like to see what All Gardening's thinking. I'd like to see what world they're or we or I am being influenced by. So the good thing is the kind of the format for the Notes from the Shed is partly highlighting information. It's partly highlighting some testing ideas. It's partly steering people to information that we think's informative. So the weird thing about Notes from the Shed is Notes from the Shed contains of, let's say, of 100% of links to the links in the newsletter, right? 95% of all of the links in the newsletter are linking away from all gardening. It's linking away to give people a kind of an understanding of what is important, what gets viewed, what we see, what I see. It's linking away. But in doing so, I'm hoping that those that enjoy the newsletter, those that participate in the newsletter and kind of like dig into it, I hope that their life is enriched in some way. And in doing so, I hope that it creates a certain loyalty to all gardening in the newsletter. And in doing so, I hope that maybe some of those people that embrace notes from the shed share the the newsletter further afield as a good example of doing something that is bigger than the transaction. Because at the end of the day, as I've probably said in previous podcasts, all gardening is here to be built into the future forever. And actually, my job is to steer it gently through that journey. In the last 19 years, I probably haven't done that very well because I've been trying to chase the transaction. I've been trying to chase the job and chase this and chase that. But this year, that all stopped. And I just sort of decided I'd anchor in a place, I'd anchor towards the future, point the ship in the right direction, let's say. But in doing so, I wanted to travel on a journey, particularly with the notes from the shed, as I wanted to travel on a journey where you have to join the journey. And look, with every send of the newsletter, some people unsubscribe. And look, if there's a metric that you all look at, subscribe rates, unsubscribe rates, all of that sort of stuff, the most important thing with the notes from the shed is that it has to mean something to you. And if it doesn't, it's okay to unsubscribe. The interesting thing is, notes from the shed might not be relevant for you because you want something more pushy, more in your face, more transactional. And actually, learning about an environment, learning about the world, learning about trees, learning about growing, maybe that's just not hard enough. It's not raw enough. It's not quick enough. But actually, for some of you, notes from the shed will be just what you need when you need it. It'll just be a little insight into something different, a little insight into the way I think, let's say. And let's say for some of you that have been listening to this podcast over the last 200 odd episodes, is that you may think that I think differently. And let's say, here's the truth, and I don't tell many people this, but dyslexic, ADHD, when you meet me, I don't come across as that package because I've learned to compromise and cope, let's say. But in this podcast and in the All Gardening brand and in the notes from the shed, is that you see an absolute raw version of a neurodiverse mind. And I think it's really powerful. But keep in mind, it may not be relevant for everyone because some people have been persuaded that it's all about the immediate transaction, that these emails are all about. And in the case of Notes from the Shed, it's more of a journey. It's a journey that we will travel on, my friends. So here's the little task that I've got for you. Inside the description of this blog or of this podcast, if you look at the description, or if you're on YouTube and you look in the description, there is a link. There is a link to Notes from the Shed number 3. And here's the thing. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to click on the link and go and have a look. Go and think carefully. Think slowly about the information that you see in front of you. Keep in mind that I'm not immediately looking for I'm not looking for a transaction. I'm looking for you to come on a journey with me. And in doing so, like every good journey companion, I will be listening to you. I will be seeing your ideas. I'll be trying to steer the journey that, you know, on some journeys, there are more than one path. There's the miner's track, some of the hills that we've got around here, you've got the miner's track and you've got the sheep track. The miner's one is the safe one, and the sheep track is the dangerous one. But look, with Notes from the Shed, it's kind of limited. It's kind of exclusive. It's kind of for you, and it's kind of a journey. I don't expect anything in return, really. I don't. I don't think there's anything to be taken from it at the moment. So, link to Notes from the Shed is in the description. Go and have a little look. See what you think. See what you think about the information and the ideas. Inside that Notes from the Shed, there's also my email address. And if there's something inside of that newsletter that strikes a chord, or if there's a theme in there that strikes a chord, if there's something you don't agree with, or if there's something you do agree with, or if there's something that you think the journey should be traveling in a certain direction, then why not email me? As a good friend of mine has recently. I will call him a good friend because anyone that listens to this podcast and discovers Notes from the Shed, or vice versa, is a friend of mine. My friend Hamish, hello mate, is he recently contacted me on email. Wonderful communication. And a wonderful guy by the sounds of it. But I'm sure there are others of you out there that would love to drop me an email with your thoughts. Because that's all it is, right? A lot of what I'm doing here is not about creating transaction. Here I'm trying to create a journey and a relationship. Somewhere for you and I to travel as companions. So, I think that's about it, really. Notes from the Shed. Number 3, go out today. And I'm going to do a little bit of work to just sort of try and allow more people to see the newsletter who haven't subscribed, because it's quite interesting really if you think about it. It's like, to subscribe to a newsletter there always has to be a hook, but what if there isn't a hook? So in the case of Notes from the Shed, there is no real hook. There's no 10% off. There's no discount. It's just like, I promise I'll send you a newsletter once a month with some insights and thinking. So the thing is, if you don't think there's a hook, and in this world that we live in, if you don't think there's value to be had, and if you don't think you're interested because you can't see inside, you won't subscribe. So therefore, the people that are subscribing are discovery-minded people, are adventure-minded people, are brilliant minds to some extent. I know a lot of them that I've subscribed. Not all of them. So what I'm saying here is, for those that don't subscribe, you never get access. And it makes it exclusive, doesn't it? I want to see it, but I don't want to sign up, because if I sign up, I'm going to get spammed senseless. You're not going to be spammed for a start, because it's only going to be information for those that want it. And if it's something that you sign up to and then you unsubscribe, that's absolutely fine. But here's the thing. Here's the simple give. Go and have a look. Go and see the newsletter. Go and learn about Notes from the Shed before you sign up. And when you do sign up, you know exactly where we're going. Anyway, I think that's enough said about Notes from the Shed, part 3. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm really, really interested to learn who's on the journey, who's coming, who's with me building this story, who's going to look back in the future and go, I joined the newsletter as when it was only 279 people. I was there at the beginning. There are others who were there at the beginning, actually, really at the beginning, but 279, it's only a few people a week join the newsletter. But being at the beginning, you have a massive influence in the future. Fascinating thought, that, a fascinating thought to say, join something at the beginning and you can have an influence over its future. I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool. If a little bit bonkers, if I'm really, really honest. Anyway, Notes from the Shed, part 3. The link is in the description. Go and have a look. See what you think. Drop me an email. Subscribe if you want to receive the monthly. And if you don't want to subscribe, that's absolutely fine as well. Anyway, that's enough for me. Bless you, my friends. This is Friday. I will be back again on Monday after a couple of days of R&R. Ta-da. Adios. Goodbye. Farewell. Ciao. Au revoir. See ya. Take care, buddy. Sorry, excuse the accents, but I will be learning some hellos and goodbyes in the 104 languages that I have to learn them in. Anyway, take care. Ta-da. See ya. Bye. Bye. Ta-da. See ya. Bye.